the contending powers in Arabia. There were two major powers emerging in Arabia. One was the Sharif of Mecca, installed by the Ottoman Islamic Empire. And his name was Sheikh Hussein. And his troops controlled Mecca, Arab troops. Medina was controlled by a Turkish garrison because the Turks had this tremendous love for the Prophet ﷺ. So they didn't trust Medina. They decided we'll protect Medina ourselves, the Turks. But Mecca was under the control of Sharif al-Hussein with an Arab garrison. And out there in the desert in Riyadh was Abdulaziz ibn Saud at the head of the Ikhwan. So what the British did with diabolical cunning was to go to both sides of this rivalry. Abdulaziz ibn Saud had established alliance with the Wahhabi movement. This is a political family, Saud, aligning itself with a religious movement founded by Muhammad Abdul Wahhab, the Wahhabi movement. And this alliance controlled Riyadh. So they went to Sharif al-Hussein and they offered him a check. The king of Jordan is going to be very angry with me now. They offered him a check for £7 million if he would repudiate his links with the Khalifa in Istanbul, declare himself independent. And Sharif al-Hussein was very pleased and happy to get all this money, and he declared himself in rebellion against the Khalifa in Istanbul. This is somewhere around 1916. But they also went to Abdulaziz ibn Saud. And since he was simply a small man in a small little village called Riyadh at that time, he couldn't command that kind of a money. So they offered him £5,000. I don't know whether it was £5,000 a month or a year, but you can get it in my book. And I got all these figures from Arnold Toynbee, Survey of International Affairs, published from London. All of this inside here. Every year they used to publish this book. And so they bribed this one with £7 million, and they bribed that one with £5,000 a year, I believe. And Abdulaziz ibn Saud then signed a treaty with Britain, a treaty of neutrality, that if Britain engages in war on the Muslims against the Khilafah state, he will stay out of it. He will not take sides, neutrality. What they were doing was undermining the authority of the Khalifa. When he lost Mecca, the declaration of jihad issued by the Sheikh al-Islam of the Ottoman Empire was meaningless, because you've lost Mecca. You have no control over the Hajj. What kind of Khalifa are you? By 1919, the war was over. Britain took control of Jerusalem. And then the mopping up operation, the Ottoman Empire was dismembered. One part for Britain, one part for France, one part here, one part there. Iraq is created, Transjordan is created, Syria, Lebanon, carved them up. Like Pakistan is going to be carved up tomorrow. And then in 1919, something strange happened in Gallipoli. The Greek army is poised to wreak vengeance on the Turks. And the Turkish Ottoman army is demoralized when emerged a man, a general named Mustafa, who subsequently is called Ataturk, the great Turk. And he succeeds in rebuilding the Turkish army, which is no longer the Ottoman army, because Mustafa Kemal is secular in his thinking. He's a bronze-skinned Englishman, so to say. And Britain is defeated at Gallipoli. One day I hope I can read the true story of that defeat. But because of this convenient defeat of Britain at Gallipoli, Mustafa Kemal emerges as a god. All of Turkey worships him. And he now presides over the breakup of the Ottoman Islamic Empire with the rump emerging as the Republic of Turkey. A new model of a state emerges. It no longer recognizes divine sovereignty. Sovereignty is now in the state. It no longer recognizes the supreme authority of Allah. Supreme authority is now in the state and parliament. It no longer recognizes Allah's law, the supreme law. It no longer enforces Allah's law. The law of the state and of parliament is the supreme law. Well, then what to do with the Khalifa? Mustafa Kemal said, well, if they could have a pope, why can't we have one too? If they could have a pope in Europe, why can't we have one too? So the Khalifa is now shorn of all his temporal powers, and the Khalifa is reduced to becoming a Muslim pope. This was 1922. Between 1922 and 1924, for 2 years, you have a Muslim pope in Istanbul. But then in 1924, on orders which came from London, Mustafa Kemal abolished the caliphate. Why did he do that? The answer is that while the Turkish Muslims were being coerced into accepting a Muslim pope, and the Arabs had gotten rid of a Turkish Khalifa and had made an attempt to have an Arab Khilafah, because Hussein, Sharif al-Hussein, claimed to be Khalifa. He claimed to be Khalifa. And then Saud came out of the desert and demolished him. The Indian Muslims in India remained faithful to that model of a state and that conception of international order. The Indian Muslims said, we want to restore, we want to uphold of that Khilafah. So what the Indian Muslims did was to establish what they call the Khilafat movement. And between 1920 and 1924, the Khilafat movement was building steam in India. And it was threatening the power of Britain in India. A man named Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, subsequently known as Mahatma Gandhi, realized that here was an opportunity for me. Gandhi was different from Jawaharlal Nehru. Nehru had become a secularized Hindu. A secularized Hindu. Nehru was comfortable with the fork and the spoon and the knife and so on, and he can sit and hobnob with the British aristocracy. But not Gandhi. Gandhi was at heart a Hindu, even though he had a British education. And Gandhi wanted to restore a model of a state in India which would allow Hinduism to preside over the state. And here are the Muslims who are confronting the British with the Khilafat movement. And they